Welcome to the Indie Showcase, highlighting the many developer submitted games and demos we check out here on the channel. If you submit a game for a future stream and piece, please get in touch. But we are starting off with the game Garden Story. This is a kind of like slice of life action RPG. You play as a lovely grape who has been tasked with being the guardian and protector of their village, and in the process will uncover a plot to try and save the world from the mysterious rot. But, we can talk about that in the future. The general gameplay is built on a day-by-day structure. Each day you are given randomly chosen requests. These requests will require you to go throughout the general area, collect things, beat up things, repair things, etc, etc. When you complete the requests, you'll gain points that can level up the village in specific areas, and these upgrades will in turn unlock more story content, more services, etc. So, your main job is to keep the cities or the various villages happy, which will allow you to move into the harder areas, get access to dungeons, and unlock more of the story. The general gameplay, again, is pure action adventure, so definitely think along the lines of a Zelda-like. You'll be able to attack, equip different items, get access to upgrades in the form of memories that you can apply to your character, and the game definitely has a very charming look and feel to it. My big concern, or the big thing that kind of stopped me from playing this game, it got very grindy. Because you are tethered to each village in terms of progression, it means that your kind of overall progress is very slow as you wait for the villages to give you the quests you need to upgrade the various parts. This is a game that is definitely built around having to collect all manner of resources, bring them back, get your upgrades, rinse and repeat. The core gameplay loop of Garden Story doesn't really evolve, it just adds in more spinning plates to deal with. If this is one of those games where if you don't enjoy it from like the first 30 minutes to an hour of play, then nothing is going to be added that's going to fix or make that more interesting for you. But I would say that this is a great action-adventure game for either casual fans or people looking for a more charming title that's not going to be, dark and grim and super difficult, but has a very engaging core gameplay loop. We now turn to Breach Wanderers. Please note the footage you're seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of the game. This is a deck building roguelite, and definitely heavy emphasis on the light side. Your job, of course, is to explore various breaches, fight bad guys, and, as we all know, grow in power and unlock more goodies. The major selling point of Breach Wanderers here is the roguelite-ness of it. As you complete the various breaches, and of course through general play, you'll unlock a variety of currencies, including a persistent one that is used to upgrade the various characters, unlock new services and features at your hub/town, new cards, passives, and so on and so forth. So, the general play of this one from our time was okay. In terms of the deck building side, I didn't really see anything too unique or different for the genre, at least when we played this early access version of it. But having the heavy emphasis on the roguelite-ness, I think definitely gives it at least a different feel compared to that of, say, the Slay the Spires, Monster Trains, and etc, etc. So, from our play, I would say that if you are a fan of deck builders and you haven't completely gotten tired of the formula, then I would say at least give this one a check. But if you're hoping for something that is above and beyond, at least in terms of the deck building side, I don't know if the game is really hitting that mark yet. We now turn to Tetragon. This is a puzzle style game where our key mechanic is that we are rotating the world as well as moving these various pillars up and down in terms of affecting when pillars or walls become floors, floors become walls, and you get the picture. Your job is to make it to the giant cube that you see, but also collect any additional MacGuffins, as we are forced to search for our son, who got trapped in, I guess, Puzzle World. So, in terms of the difficulty, I would say this is moderate to moderately difficult, depending upon where you stand in terms of puzzle design. You'll have to kind of plan things out at least a step or two in advance in terms of where you push and pull the various objects, which will affect things when you rotate the world. Overall, for me, I wasn't a huge fan of this one, just simply because I'm not a huge, super puzzle fan, at least along these lines. And this, again, is one of those games that you will know very quickly whether you are all in or all out on wanting to play. I would say if you do enjoy puzzle-based games, then at least give this one a check, but if you're not, then again, this game is not going to do anything that's going to change your mind in that respect. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for our showcase. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. We now turn to something very different. This is Jelly Break Deluxe. Now, unfortunately, OBS did not like this game, so I was forced to show it or stream it like this. This is a 3D platformer where our unique twist is that we are controlling 2 characters at the same time, the green and the orange little goo person, as we are trying to save our world from an evil bad guy. So for this one, the main selling point is that it's 2 players can play this together, each one controlling an individual character and both having to work together. Now, the footage that you're seeing is played single player, where you just simply have to swap between the 2. But if we had multiplayer going, both players would be controlling them individually. You can have characters kind of stack on each other and turn into a turret. They'll be able to use the different platforms, green to green, orange to orange, and your job is to explore each world, find the exit, collect all the MacGuffins, all that 3D platforming goodness. Things will become more challenging as you get to boss fights, and unlock new challenges and so on. So for this one, I enjoyed it. I think this is a very competent 3D platformer. Other than the kind of co-op multiplayer style, it doesn't really do anything I would say, again, is unique to 3D platformers. But if you can get a friend to play this one with, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I believe the multiplayer is local only. So if you're going to play this, you'll either need to have a second person on hand, or if you're playing this on Steam, you'll have to use the remote local play in order to get this going. But I would say, again, very enjoyable platformer, not the hardest by any stretch, but just a fun one to play. For our next game, we turn to King's Bounty 2. Now, this is, of course, not the second King's Bounty game. The King's Bounty series has been going on since the 90s, but this is considered the sequel to King's Bounty The Legend, which was one of my favorite games of, I think, the last 10 to 15 years. And unfortunately, this one I don't think makes the cut. So the biggest thing, as you've probably seen, is that we've moved into full 3D. Definitely having that kind of early 2000s 3D open world RPG aesthetic to it. The new aesthetic for battle, as you can see, is definitely not as colorful or as exciting to watch compared to the other games, which is more of an isometric strategy kind of design. As with the previous King's Bounty, your main role here is going to be exploring the various areas, getting into fights, looking for items and gear that will upgrade your character, which in turn will affect the troops that you take into each fight. Now, unlike the previous game, however, everything here is fixed. So you're not going to be finding shops that have random goods and characters. Everything has been predetermined, which also kind of hurts in terms of getting excited about exploring. The quests are of your usual RPG side. You have your horse, which you can ride, and then it will kind of disappear and reappear as the need comes up. All in all, this feels like a big budget, but not as interesting sequel compared to the first game. And unfortunately, we played this for about, I think, like 2 hours on stream, and I just kind of lost interest in it. The only really major system that was added besides the 3Ds is that there's now a morality kind of choice, and these will affect your personalities, which in turn will affect kind of where you go on a passive skill tree. That replaces the previous game's 3 distinct classes of Paladin, Mage, and Knight. All in all, for me, this is definitely going to be a pass. If you haven't played the original, or I should say King's Bounty: The Legend and its pseudo-sequel/expansions, I would say at least give those a check, because I think they hold up better than this. For our final game of the showcase, this is Warlike. Now, please keep in mind, this is taken from a early build preview that was sent to me directly by a developer. This game is currently being designed on itch.io. I'll include a link to it in the description down below, but what you see may not represent the current version of it. So this was a game that we originally played that was going to become like a multiplayer deck builder style game, but it has since been transformed, as a quote from developer, to an FTL meets Slay the Spire. How this works is you have your ship on the left, enemy ship is on the right. You gain resources that are red, green, and blue down below that correspond to different components on your ship. They will be your resources that you'll be able to use to activate your various cards. The cards themselves come in different varieties, different abilities. You can send out torpedoes or fighter ships that will attack like every other turn, or they need to be charged. Some attacks are instant. You also have cards that can mess with your opponent's ship, such as sending viruses and other things that will affect what cards they can play, what their resource gen is going to be, that kind of thing. And then, of course, your quote-unquote deck is built out of the different components you attach to your ship. So the better the component, the better the cards, and you're going to have to figure out what kind of build you want to make based on what you get access to at these shops. All in all, I think this game has a lot of potential. Now, of course, as a deck building roguelike, it's going to, I think, be launching, or it's being developed in a relatively tough market, as we've said. Besides the kind of FTL spaceship battle angle, I'm not quite sure if this game is going to do enough from a mechanical standpoint that's going to win over people who aren't huge fans of deck builders, but I like the presentation, at least with the version that we played, and there is certainly here, we've seen a few kind of spaceship deck builder roguelikes, but not in this exact style and with this kind of more elaborate resource system. So I would say that if you are a fan of either game and you're not completely tired of deck builders, definitely check this one out, and I'll be looking forward to hopefully playing more of it as the game continues its development. So, with that said, thank you so much for tuning in to our showcase. As always, do the liking, subscribing, and commenting. Check out all the links to the games down below. And once more, if you would like me to play your game for a future stream and video, please reach out. Check out the Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.